I'm Shailyn and I'm a pattern tester. Today's video is going to be a pattern test that I did of a vintage inspired skirt. This pattern will be available on Vintage Made magazine. I will link that below for you guys to check out so you can make your own vintage inspired skirt. This skirt has a button closure in the front, so you only need fabric, interfacing, and buttons. There are 5 pattern pieces: the front skirt, back skirt, button stand, waistband, and pockets. I wanted to have a little bit of contrast, so I cut the button stand, waistband, and pockets out of the solid black fabric. Later on, you'll see that I actually don't use the pockets that I cut out, and that's because I didn't like what it looked like. Pattern pieces, you'll see that you need to cut out half of the pattern for the button stand and the waistband. The reason you don't need interfacing for the whole pattern piece is because you'll be folding the fabric over. Here, I'm pressing the interfacing on the button stands and the waistband. The first thing you want to do is fold the hem up an inch, wrong sides together. Ignore what I'm doing here, I realized my mistake before I stitched it down. Pin the hem and pin the button stands to the front skirt pieces right sides together, matching the notches. The interfacing on the button stand should be on the side that's pinned to the skirt. Do that to both front skirt pieces and sew. You can see here where I fixed the hem. Press the button stand away from the skirt, then press the seam allowance of the button stand over. Fold the button stand in half, press, and sew the button stand down from the front of the skirt. At this point, you should catch all the layers of the button stand. Now you're going to want to pin and sew the side seams together. This is where I forgot that the pattern had patch pockets in the front, so I actually decided to cut out side seam pockets. You can skip ahead if you're doing the patch pockets, but here I'm just showing you how I drafted the side seam pocket. With side seam pockets, you need to stitch the pocket piece individually to each skirt piece before sewing the side seams down. Now that the skirt is put together, I need to gather the skirt. I use the longest stitch length on my machine and stitch the top of the skirt inside the seam allowance. Now I want to press the waistband in half and press the seam allowance down on the side the inner facing is on. Once that's pressed, I need to pin the waistband to the skirt, gathering so the side seams match up to the seam notches on the waistband. Make sure to pin the non-interface side of the waistband down to the wrong side of the skirt. Unfortunately, my camera stopped recording the rest of the waistband, but basically, remember how you press the seam allowance down on the interface side? You're going to fold that over so it's on the right side of the skirt and sew all the layers down just like you did with the button stand. Now you just need to figure out where you want the buttons to go. Once you mark where you want the buttons, sew buttonholes on the right button stand. For women's clothing, buttons will always be on the left side and buttonholes will be on the right. The opposite is true for menswear. The buttons will be on the right side and the buttonholes will be on the left. Remember the patch pockets I forgot about? I just did. I made this red piping that I wanted to edge the pockets with, but I didn't like the square pockets. So I just rounded the pockets using a round object I had laying around. I tried to figure out patch pocket placement, but I didn't like how the solid black looked on the skull fabric, so I actually ended up not sewing the pockets to the skirt. It's okay though, because I did accidentally sew those side seam pockets into it. Press the hem up an inch and then sew it down. I just discovered this button foot, which made sewing the buttons way faster than hand stitching. So I sewed the buttons down, then sewed the rest of the button stand down onto itself. As you can see, even though I've been sewing for a while and I'm pattern testing, I still make my own little mistakes here and there. I decided to keep all of that for you guys to see my thought process on pretty much everything. Please like if you like these pattern testing videos and subscribe to my channel for some more sewing shenanigans.